Working.
Hey,
Hey, ladies and gentlemen.
that's me and Dennis.
What, hon?
That's me and Dennis, right?
This is Tin Pan.
Okay.
Yeah.
In pan? Okay. I think that's Italy because I played that tune in Italy.
Okay. Sounds great.
Thank you.
There we go. Oh, Edwin, my boy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. face. Oh my God. Wow, that was awesome.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
And the play with Dennis. I mean, you can't
Yeah.
ask for no better. It's,
No.
you know.
No. He's really a genius. Just,
Oh, yes, he is. And he's a great guy too. And
yeah, that's what I've heard.
he's funny as heck. The man will have you in stitches. Because as many times we get on the phone and we like two big kids laughing and cracking up. I love him. That's all I can say. He's a great man. You know.
Ah, God. Uh, hold on. YouTube is giving me problems.
Oh no.
That's okay. We're on Facebook. I,
Okay.
I'm just telling one of my followers. Hi, Roland. Hi, Mark. Um, yeah, and add Edwin into the mix.
Oh yeah.
He's a character.
That's my brother. That's
Yeah.
my brother. Great guy. I just a couple of weeks ago, his mother was here in town, and
Yeah.
me and my wife, we went to go pay a visit. I wanted to meet her, and we went
Oh, cool.
and had a nice little meal. And his mom is just so sweet. So I told her, okay, now you got the new son. Yeah.
I can dig it, man. For some reason, every time I see Edwin, and I've known him for years, every single time I see him, he reminds me of my sister. My
Wow.
sister passed away a long time ago, but
I'm
she's
sorry.
so, oh, thank you. But it's great because I get a hit of her through him for some reason. I'm not sure why. I think if the two of them had been together, she would have just loved him, like just, and he would have been so kind, and you know how he is.
Oh yeah, he
Nice and
just
wonderful.
he just so laid back, cool, and quiet, and he does the job and drama free. That's why I love working with him. Plus, I love his musical ability and his
Uh,
versatility. I
so
mean,
great.
because I mean that is so hard today to find a guy who can play both acoustic and electric, and he play it well.
I
Yeah. So
know. I totally get it.
yeah.
Yeah, I do as much as I can with him. We just did a concert at Catalina's. We had a
Okay.
Tokyo,
Okay.
Manila, LA Jazz Summit, and I had 10 musicians and five singers, and he was one of the bass players. Ahmet Sezin, do you know him? He was the other one.
Uh,
Sezin, like Turkmenoglu. He's
The
Turkish.
name sounds familiar, but doesn't quite ring a bell. I'm
He's
sorry.
also excellent on both.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
he's right up
Okay.
there. But anyway, and then I have this little gig in July. It's just a short little jazz vespers with Edwin and Lyndon Rochelle. You know him?
I know London.
Yeah. And Atmara Ruiz, who's a
Oh
really
man. Yeah,
amazing.
Amaro. Oh my
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So that's going to be really fun. It's just a
Sure.
short gig, but it's like, oh, I get to I get to have fun with these guys, man.
Right, right. Yeah, you got Amaro and Edwin. Oh, that's a great combination.
Yeah, it's beautiful, just beautiful. We're lucky we have a lot of community who they're not only great players, but they're really nice people.
Sure.
And in LA, I always say we're just like blessed with so many people who live in LA who are,
Oh yeah.
who are top notch. That's one reason I could never like move like seriously to the boonies because what would I do? You
Right,
know?
right.
You know? So anyway, but yeah, so TJ Hudson had introduced us and and it's really great. And we didn't know about each other even though we live in the LA area. And you know, it's I mean, it's not that surprising because, there's a million great people all over the planet who I don't know. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people, but you know,
We're not gonna know everyone, and that's okay.
yeah, yeah. But your playing is outstanding. I mean, it's obvious that you've been at it a long time because you don't get to be that good, yeah, like in 5 years.
Thank you.
So, so where are you from?
I'm originally from Cleveland, Ohio.
Okay, Cleveland. Yeah, I've been to Cleveland and I know some musicians there. Um, yeah, that's a nice area. especially to be from, right? It's kind of
Yeah, I mean, Cleveland is it's always home. I miss my family. I definitely miss my parents. Unfortunately, both are deceased. But a lot of my musical ability and attribute. Well, first of all, I thank God, for blessing me with that ability. And I was very fortunate and lucky to have supportive parents because a lot of people who are musicians don't get this support. And my introduction to jazz was at an early age because my first jazz concert my father took me to go see Duke Ellington, and I had the honor and the pleasure of meeting him.
oh wow.
And how that happened, my oldest brother, excuse me, he was a drummer, but out of me and my two other brothers who also were musicians, they left the music alone. I'm the only one who continued to, pursue it full time. So the great thing that evening, I can remember I said to Mr. Ellington, I could play one of those, and I was pointing to the piano. So he looked at me, he said, "Oh, you play piano?" And so he patted me on my head, my shoulder. He said, "Well, young man, you keep practicing, and you'll be good." And my father was cheesing big time. I wish I had a picture of that. That would have been
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
How old were you?
I was about maybe about 4 or 5 years old.
Oh,
I was
really?
very young. Yeah, I was extremely young.
Oh, wow. That's cool, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, when I think about it, my dad was a sax player. So that's how I got in. And I had twin sisters who were older than me who sang and one played piano. So we were
Okay.
always making music. My mother had been a singer. And so, but I mean, so I grew up listening and, what my dad was always playing records, and.
Right.
But I remember what I consider to be the first concert that I chose to go to myself, and with my sister. We went downtown. We lived in Boston, and we went to the jazz workshop. There was Paul's
Okay.
Hall and the jazz workshop, and it was the Modern Jazz Quartet. It's a very
Oh,
small room, and
yeah.
we sat in the front row, and I was very struck with the elegance of them. They were dressed well, they were charming, they were, communicative to each other and to the audience, and the music made me feel that magical space,
Yes. Yes.
and so that those were the things that impinged on me.
Yes.
Did you get such an imposing either with that Duke Ellington or something
Oh, I
else?
mean, that music, it hit me in such a way. I said to myself, okay, I got to learn that. I want to do that. Even though I didn't have the understanding of the music that I do, like I do now, because, of course, excuse me, pardon me, we gravitate to more simpler things that we can remember.
Yeah,
Of course, growing up, James Brown, Sly
yeah,
Stone,
yeah,
Motown and all of that. But thankfully, in my mother's house, I got exposed to a mixture of the soup because I listened to it all. I mean, from hard rock, Led Zeppelin, Jimi Hendrix, Santana, Steppenwolf. My sisters were into the Beatles, and then the R&B stuff. But my dad would always take me into another room, and he would be playing his jazz records because he had a serious LP and 78 collection. And one tune that he used to play that really you know, it just grabbed me. And it was Miles Davis' record, Seven Steps to Heaven. So I
love it.
don't know, it was just something about hearing that. I'm like, hey, it just got me. So when he would come home from work, I would grab that record and I would say, Dad, would you play this? And he looked at me and said, You like that? I said, Yeah, please play that. But you couldn't touch the stereo back then. That was your tell. So yeah, don't mess with Dad's record. So and of course, playing in various situations. Me and my brothers, we had a group, and we were playing the tunes of uh, well-known R&B artists, Ohio players, and
Yeah,
various other groups.
yeah,
And as I got older, I felt like there's something missing in my playing because I would hear guys play a certain way, and I'm like, I got to learn that. I want, what are they doing? Because, of course, R&B, you either just playing parts and you barely hear sophisticated solo. Not saying that some of them guys couldn't play, because when
Yeah,
you listen to the element of the creativity of the music, they've been studying something. I mean, good example, Stevie Wonder. His stuff is not just no regular 2-5-1 or major minor chords. I mean, harmonically, he goes into a direction like, whoa, man, what you been listening to? So, so I made it, and thanks to my father, he would play certain things for me. And then when I graduated out of high school, I attended Berklee College of Music, and what was great about being there was meeting people and different musicians from all over the world, and the different level of musicianship. I'm like, wow. And then I'm like, okay, these are the things that my dad was telling me about. Because
yeah,
at one time my head was in the wrong direction, and he grilled me, and I'm thankful that he did. So,
yeah. Well,
it's
um, I just have to share with you. So I went to Berkeley. I
okay.
played flute, and they didn't have vocal at the time I went. I went in the
Wow.
70s, in the early 70s. And
Okay.
every morning in my apartment, I would put on, guess what? Seven Steps to Heaven.
Wow.
That was my wake up album. I mean, that was, that's what I loved, and
Sure.
that definitely is, but I also, I came from the Motown and the Woodstock and you
Sure.
know, also what the jazz actually was changing at that time. Blood, Sweat, and
Yes.
Tears was at that time, and it was different. It was mixing jazz. ECM actually started getting more popular. Keith
Right.
Jarrett and Weather Report.
Right.
That was really a turn on for me. Weather Report and Bob
Right.
Moses. So I hear you. I mean that stuff is just so beautiful. And I can really relate to understanding like okay, you got the grooves, you're making music, you're having fun, it's great, but there's something I could be doing more.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, and see, to me, today's standards has really gone down, because back then, you and I both know the law was you had to be original. You had to be doing something nobody else has ever done. Otherwise, you got no respect. Now, everything sounds so much alike.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, where's the substance? Where's the creativity? And please believe me, I don't have nothing against simplicity. Simplicity can be creative.
Yeah.
I mean, when you go back to the greats like Duke Ellington, simple tunes like A Train. That wasn't a complex melody, da 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 da. You can sing that, but you felt it. It don't mean a thing without that swing. What am I here for?
Yes.
Sophisticated lady. And now you hear some of the stuff, I'm like, really? Okay, all right. So, I try to tell people, you know, don't get stuck in a comfort zone. Be you, because otherwise you're pigeonholing yourself.
Yeah.
And yeah, I can appreciate jazz and I love it. It was one time I didn't, because it was extremely complex. Because I remember the first time I heard Thelonious Monk, the first record I heard by him was Monk's Dream. And when I heard the way he was playing, I told my father, leave them cigarettes alone. This man crazy. But then as I got older and started diving into it, I said, oh wow, okay. I understand now what Miles and some of the other guys meant when they was, speaking about how sophisticated his harmony was and his use of space.
Yeah.
So, you get a little something from a little everyone. Because the time I was born, I was like on the tail end when all the fusion and everything came out. 'Cause that stuff was like Weather Report, Return to Forever, because everything was upbeat and quick,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
So, but my first introduction to fusion was Billy Cobham, the Spectrum record. I mean, when I heard the Red Baron, I'm like, who is this guy on the drums? Okay, so so from there, it was like a journey of various situations, and it has helped me develop, and I'm always looking for something new. And I don't want to sit here and pretend like I've just been playing jazz all my life. I did the R&B gigs, of course. Made a little money. Got to pay the bills because I was on a flight one time and I had the pleasure of meeting the great Dr. Billy Taylor. So just to be sitting next to this guy, I'm like, oh my God. I mean, I'm sitting here next to a master.
Yeah.
So, I told him I was a pianist. He said, well, are you working? I said, yes, sir. So he asked me, well, who you playing with? Oh, I was embarrassed. I didn't want to say. So I said, well, I'm working with this R&B singer. He said, no, that's good, man. He said, listen, play it all. Don't put yourself in just one situation because believe he said, do you listen to jazz? I said, of course. I mean, I listen to you, listen to Bud Paul, Wynn Kelly, Train Mile. He said, okay, I'm glad that you said that because guess what? A lot of your heroes, they weren't the guys that you know them to be. He said he was telling me this story about, Train used to walk across the bar doing that. I'm like, Train? Are you serious? He said, hey, you got to do a little bit of it all. And another great musician, unfortunately, we lost too soon. Good friend of mine, and I mean, I just loved his piano playing because he was just very versatile, and that's Kenny Kirkland. Okay, I know the first time I met him,
Incredible.
and after hearing him with Wynton and the things that he was composing and playing, I'm like, oh my God, what do you say to this guy? He is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
But as we were talking, he asking me about the Shaka Khan record. I'm like, what? You asking me about Shaka Khan? He said, man, look, I'm not trying to be this, strict cat where just one thing. Play all styles of music. That's my attitude about a musician. Learn it all. I said, okay, cool. So when people ask me what style you play, I say I play music. I'm a musician. If it requires playing less, you play less. Because I did a France tour with this vocalist, Michele. Oh my God, I forget the guy's last. Oh, anyway, he's big in France. He's like Michael Jackson big, and believe me, his music all I was playing was just mainly string part, just laying pad. But it pays some serious money, because it wasn't about okay, let me play all the hip voicings and
Yeah.
bebop licks and everything. So you do a little bit of it all, and it's a great form of discipline,
Yeah.
because you have a lot of people that can play a lot of stuff, but hit them with a ballad or something simple, it kill them because they
Yeah.
so used
Well,
to.
Billy Joel had this ballad that I covered, and so it goes. And
Yeah.
I mean, he just plays the piano and sings it. I mean, and it's beautiful. It's incredible.
Hmm.
Hey, I wanted to share one thing with you that I
Yes.
saw yesterday. This is silly, but I just wanted to share it with you. I gotta get the sound going. Okay, this is so adorable. So heartfelt.
Some people got too much time on their hands.
Isn't that cute?
Oh man.
Oh my God, man. When I saw that, I was like, oh my God.
I just I just remember the gentleman's name was Michele Polnariff. That he was a French guy.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay, cool.
yeah, yeah.
Cool.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah, I remember Kei Akagi. He said he got hired by Miles to play synth, and
Okay.
he was kind of a little disappointed after a while because that was all he was doing for Miles, just synth, and it was in the more, raucous time,
Yeah, the fusion area. Sure.
Yeah, yeah. But I always think, oh, that must be a little difficult. You're a really great piano player. You get hired by Miles, and then you're stuck
Yeah.
with synth parts, man.
And I missed an audition with Miles by a week because
Really?
I came out here, I did a recording session and I met his nephew, Vince, right? And when Vince heard me play, he walked up to me and said, "Man, I wish I'd have met you a week sooner because I would have took you straight to Miles. He'd have loved what you're doing." But at the time he hired a good friend of mine, Darren Johnson. I said, "Well, if any changes occur, please pass my number." But it never happened. But I did have the pleasure and honor of meeting Miles and speaking with him. And he was a great guy. It was funny when we shook hands. He looked at me and he said, "You're a musician." And I looked at him, I said, "How do you know I'm a musician?" "Your hands is soft. You ain't got no job." Because my friend Foley was playing with him at the time. And he asked me, "Well, can you play?" I told him, I said, "I'm not gonna stand here and tell you yes or no. I'm confident in what I could do, but I'll let you be the judge. Hopefully that can happen. Because I didn't want to be a victim of, getting that's it.
Right.
So it was great. I really I think I know I would have enjoyed working with him because his
Yeah.
man, his creativity just phenomenal up until the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Really special. Yeah. Um, I have a lot of albums, so I try and go through them from time to
Mhm.
time. It's difficult to just sit down and listen to an album anymore, but yeah, I have a lot of really great albums of him. Yep. So let's see. Well, you sent me some music.
Mhm.
Um, I think it would be cool to listen to something. Um,
Okay.
let me see where I put it. Knick Smith, there you are. Um, so there's romance, there's influenced, it's like that. Which would you like me to play?
Um, you can play some tunes off of it's like that. That'd be fine.
Okay, cool. Open link. Where am I? Come on. Open link. There you go. All right. Okay. And so let's see. I'm going to share this with you so you can see it. Okay. So um, I guess there's not names. So
Oh,
they're just
I'm
numbers.
sorry.
One, two, three, four. Blah blah blah. I mean, it does have this cover, so it probably directs me. But do you know? Let's see if I can view this file. Um, does it? Nope, it doesn't. Okay.
I'm
So,
sorry.
yeah, I mean, anything?
Just click on one. I'll tell you what the song is. I'm sorry. Okay. That's 4x4.
That sounds good.
This is a tune I wrote. I had McCoy Tyner in mind when I wrote it.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, I love that line. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's really melodic. Very beautiful.
That was that was fun.
And who are the players on that?
Me and Dennis, and I and that
Bass.
and the bass, that was me playing the plug-in.
Get out of here.
Yep.
Wow. It sounds very realistic. Wow. Interesting.
I will explain that to you. We can talk in person, okay?
Well, can I ask a few questions though?
Sure.
Yeah, like I mean, did you start by playing piano and drums? Or
Well,
how did
That's Dennis Chambers on the drums.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Like, okay. When all right, let me just say this. The person who's supposed to play bass on there didn't deliver,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I was sort of like, really? So a fellow musician friend of mine turned me on to this plugin called Trilogy. That's what they used to call it. It was invented by this guy named Eric Persson from Spectrasonics. They're a plugin company. And he told me, he said, man, you got to hear this acoustic bass plugin. I'm like, how did this stuff sound too synthetic? Okay. So I went to his house and he demonstrated it for me. I'm like, oh my God, this guy really put his foot into, the sound. I mean, he had all the nuances and everything. You could hear the plucking of the string, the wood, and the tonality was just incredible.
Yeah.
So um, I used the plug-in, I did it at my house, but the guy, he gave me a copy. And what I did, I went to Spectrasonics and I played it for him. And when I told him that's me using your plug-in, that's when they gave me the endorsement deal and they hooked me up. So yeah, a lot of people who heard that, they thought the person who was supposed to play that track, that's who they thought it was. And then
So
it's like,
you
oh.
you you actually played with the trio first, and then
Well, me and Dennis played, and with me and Dennis already being recorded, I just added the bass line to it.
oh, okay. So you and Dennis. That was the beginning of the recording.
Well, it was me, Dennis, and the person
Oh,
who,
yeah, yeah.
yeah. And then
The
when
two
I heard the
members.
playback,
I see.
I
Yeah.
said, no, I'm not happy with this performance. And when I tried to get him to redo it, he kept coming up with excuses. So I said, okay, I'll take care of it. So, you know, and
Okay.
that's bad to be replaced by a plug-in, especially if you the caliber of musician you are.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know,
Oh
so,
well.
but
Yeah, yeah, that happens.
yeah.
Roland, that's a very funny question. So my friend Roland said, Nick, do you secretly love McCoy Tyner?
Tell him, yes, I do.
Uh, that's funny. I don't know if it's so secret though.
No, it's not a secret because because McCoy's use of the pentatonic scale and playing voices and fourth, oh my God, is
Yeah,
okay, incredible.
yeah, yeah. Um, well, yeah, there's so many wonderful players, aren't there? I mean, in your bio, there was a lot listed who you got inspiration from. Like, for instance, let me look at what I put down there. Like, for instance, Herbie Hancock, Thelonious, Gonzalo, McCoy, Hazel Scott, Mary Lou, Red Garland, Art Tatum, Wynton Kelly, Kenny Kirkland, Billy Childs, Oscar Peterson, Chick, Errol Garner. Yeah, and that's just some of the pianists, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, it's like you said, there's so many out there. Art Tatum, Oscar Peterson, Willie the Lion Smith, James P. Johnson. I mean, the list goes on and on.
yeah,
Yeah. So, like, I just try to grab a little whatever I can get from whomever for influence and inspiration. If I may share, one of the greatest experience for me,
yeah.
I was at the NAMM show one year, and a buddy of mine, Ray, great guitarist, Ray Fuller, he
Yeah.
was telling me about this piano called the Fazioli. So I'm like, okay. And he was telling me that George Duke and Herbie were upstairs playing it. So, by the time I got up there, they were gone. So I checking the piano out. I was like, oh my God, this is an incredible piano. I mean, it feels great. It sounds great.
Is this
So
acoustic piano or?
it's acoustic. Yeah, it's acoustic. And, following years, I would always go up there. I met Mr. Fagioli. We got a good relationship. And I was up there playing, and you know how you feel somebody looking at you and checking you out? And Mr. Fagioli, I just happened to overhear him say, Herbie, you need to check this guy out. And I turn around and look, and Herbie's standing there, and he looking at me like this, and he says, "Keep playing." So I got up and I said, "Mr. Hancock," I shook his hand, I embraced him. I said, "Oh, it is such an honor and a pleasure, and man, I can't thank you enough for all your incredible music and your inspiration." So he said, then he sits down at the adjoining piano, and he asked me, "What do you want to play? What do I want to play?" I'm like, man, you forgot more music and I'm still trying to learn, okay? So that's when I sort of turned to Scooby a little bit. so I said, well, um, may we play your tune, One Finger Snap? And he looked at me and said, oh, you know that tune? I said, oh yeah, that's one of my favorites in Chan's song. I mean, I love all your stuff, but I really like those. He said, okay, where do you want to take it at? I said, we're not trying to bust chops. Let's just have a little fun. So we played it, and he did his thing. I would try to do my little thing, and he looked over at me and he raised that eyebrow. I said, okay, he's getting ready to go into beast mode on the brother, right? so so I mean, it was great. Now I will never sit here and say, I'm on that level. It's just, I did what I could do, and he stopped me and he looked at me and he grabbed me and he pulled me up to him. He said, I've seen you many times, but man, I didn't know you played like that. I can hear you've been listening to me, but Paul, Winton, Monk, he named everybody, and he was on point. But he said this one thing to me, excuse me, that really touched me. He said, you got your own style. You wasn't sitting here trying to copy everything I'm doing. I like that. I said, wow, coming from someone like him, I mean, when you really look at that brother's history, Wes Montgomery, Donald Byrd, then his run with Miles and everything he have done, I'm like, well, because I feel like I'm like this compared to him. But he heard something and he was impressed, and so my next thing was, okay, cool, make a call, hook a brother up, make a phone call, please. so but it's good. Every time we see each other, hey, how you doing? He said, man, how you? I'm saying, hey, I'm just trying to hang in there. Always good to see you. So he very gracious, very nice. I had the pleasure of going to his home. I went there with Bill Summers. Bill Summers took me over there. And I was like a kid in a candy store. I'm like, oh my God, I'm looking at the studio, looking at all this equipment, and I'm like, man, it's like I'm over here at Herbie Hancock's house. I couldn't believe it. so yeah, he's very nice. I've interacted with Chick Corea, rest his soul in peace. Another great guy. I was playing at the time when I was working with Stanley Clarke. McCoy was in the audience, and I didn't know it. So, Stanley called me and he said, hey, man, McCoy gave you some props. He was like, yeah, your piano player, he's happening. Who is that guy? And I gave Jack DeJohnette a copy of it's like that CD, and he called Dennis, and he was saying, man, who is this Knick Smith guy? I mean, I'm hearing a variety of versatile playing. I mean, this guy sounded like Monk, he sounded like McCoy, he sounded like Herbie. Who is this guy? So, but sometimes things happen and sometimes they don't. All we can do is just keep trying. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's all really great. Yeah, I mean Herbie and Chick for me as you know, also music and people. I
sure.
just think, yeah, I mean that's part of what I always loved about jazz. It's like the people they're gracious, and they're encompassing. They want to bring you in to
Sure.
the community and the ideal. And I mean, jazz, jazz is an amazing thing.
Yeah, because Chick heard me playing with Kenny Garrett. I worked with Kenny Garrett for a minute,
Yeah,
and we were playing at Catalina's, and yeah, he was, excuse me, extremely nice and gracious, and we had pictures together. And I mean, he's missed. I mean,
yeah, he definitely
major
is.
influence.
I recorded at his studio years ago.
Oh,
Uh,
Mad Hatter.
and yeah, and Bernie was my engineer, and
Okay.
it was a really nice record. Actually, was this with this piano player Philip Strange, who lives in Japan, who I traveled through Japan with for 20 years. But this
Hmm.
record was with Mark Johnson and Peter Erskine
Oh,
on
wow.
Chick's piano. It was really, it was a very nice experience.
Oh, I bet. I
Yeah,
bet,
it's great.
so, so I feel blessed and honored to have met a lot of the people that, I call them my influence and my heroes. Because I mean,
Yeah.
musically, these guys, they were no joke. I mean, when they came to the stage, they brought it. And if you didn't get something out of it, well, not their fault.
I know, man. They really made some reality, you know,
Yes, they did.
really made some reality that we're all kind of, stemming from and going forth from. Who were a few people that you worked the longest with?
Um, Let me see. Wow. Okay. The that's a good question. Okay. Like I said, I've done
Yeah,
various situations with different artists.
yeah.
I did the R&B scene.
Did you work with Chaka? Is that what you said?
Yes, I did. I played with her. It was I forget what the event was. She was there. Don Lewis was there. Isaac Hayes was there. uh, let's see. I went on the road. Let's see. Well, my first professional gig, let me start from the beginning, was Roy Ayers.
Oh,
Okay. And
okay.
thinking back on it, I felt as though I kind of disappointed my dad because he preferred, I wish I would have stayed and finished Berklee. I did a year and a half
Oh,
there.
oh, yeah,
So I think about wanting to go back, but with the way things is right now, we just got to wait and see.
yeah.
Excuse me. Um, from Roy, I worked with Jean Carnes for a little bit. She come to town
You
and
know, that's so weird that you said that because I interviewed and I went to see Doug Karn and Ronnie Laws.
wow.
And
Okay.
that it was just last month. And they
Right.
played here at Barbara Morrison Center.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, and it
Okay.
was yeah, that's so interesting. I was going to tell you about that. But so you worked with Jean Carn. I mean,
Yeah,
she
yeah.
was
See,
great.
whenever, because it got to the point what promoters would do, they would put a band together for the
Oh,
artist to come in
right,
to try
right.
to save money.
Yeah.
From Gene Carn, I went on the road with Levert, the OJ son.
Oh,
That's when they had that tune Casanova. That was
oh,
back in the late 80s, 87, something like that. And then from Levert, I went with Freddie Jackson because I was supposed to go out with Najee, but you know, politics plays the role. Excuse me. So he pulled some strings and he got me on the Freddie gig. So after I finished that, I was sort of debating, okay, where do I go from here? Because I was thinking, go back to school, use this money, go back to school, or continue to pursue your career. So I ended up going back to Cleveland. And I was trying to get out of Cleveland because, honestly speaking, there was really no musical outlet there. I mean,
yeah,
other than just the local scene, and that's gonna only last for so long.
right.
So I was living in Jersey for a minute, and I worked with another great singer by the name of Glenn Jones, and a good buddy of mine, Mark Leffert, called me. Rest his soul in peace. Great singer, versatile musician. The Jamaica Boys, that was Marcus Miller and Lenny White's band, they needed a keyboard player. Because at the time, I don't know, Bernard was available and he was doing other things. So that's who was their original keyboard player. So I went and auditioned and I got the gig. So I did that for a short moment while that lasted. Excuse me. And then I ended up moving from Jersey because I was in a relationship at the time and it didn't work. So I went back home. So I'm just doing various situations, whatever could happen. Sometimes I get called and I fly to Cleveland. Then I came to LA. I did a recording session, and that's when I met all these phenomenal people from Bill Summers, Mayungo. I already knew Terry Lynn. She was on the session. Rayford was there. And we were, I think I told you about this the other day. We were doing Herbie's Tune Butterfly. And, you know, people trying to tell me, oh, you playing the wrong changes, you doing all this embellishing. So Bill Summers was standing there, and as soon as the air cleared, he said, well, I don't know this guy, but he's playing the exact voice as Herbie played. He's right. You guys are wrong. So I was sitting there looking at him like a kid. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, Bill and different people was saying, man, you need to come out to LA. And, I said, hey, that would be great, but there's one problem. I don't have no family out there, and I don't know no one, and I don't want to be a burden on anyone, because you can easily wear out your welcome. Well, I still, ended up staying in Cleveland a little longer, and a saxophone player I worked with, Mike Paulo, he called me to go to Bangkok with him to record his CD. And we did an Asian tour. We was over in Malaysia, Singapore. It was about a good month, a little longer. Now, and he paid me pretty nice, and I said, great, now I can go ahead and make this move to LA. Well, unfortunately, I ended up with a setback because, a guy I went to elementary school with, as he got older, he became a crackhead. He stole my car. Okay. So that held me back. So Mayungo was coming into town. He was working with Diane Reeves at the time, and he looked me up and he called me. And at the time I was working. I used to work at a place called Hills. It's sort of like Target and Walmart. So he had been trying to track me all day. So he ran into a good young lady friend of mine who worked with the Tri-C Jazz Festival, Cliffy Jones. So he was saying, hey, I want to put a guest on the list. And she said, what's the name? Knick Smith. Oh, I know Nick. He can just come down here and walk in. So he was like, you got it like that? And I said, I didn't know. So we finally connected, and he made a proposition to me, and we went out to dinner, and I said, okay, now you do understand, hey, I'm willing to, contribute to your household. Now, you sure you cool with this? He said, look, man, the way you play, you need to come out here and you'll be working. Otherwise, hey, I'll get you some new gloves and you can keep unloading that truck. I said, brother, my bags is packed. So I stayed for my mother and father's 50th wedding anniversary. And then, I started letting everybody know, hey, look, I'm leaving to go to LA. There was some who was like, hey, man, good luck. And you're not going nowhere. I said, okay, watch. And the next thing, I was gone, and I came out here, and I have to give special big thanks and big shout out to Mayungo Jackson, because if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be here. And thanks to living with him, by him working with everyone, calls would come in, I'd meeting different artists. Fortunately, George Duke called one time, and he needed an extra keyboard player. And I reminded him who I was, because before I left to go to college, he came to Cleveland. He played at this venue called the Front Row. Excuse me. So by the end of the show, he was inviting people to come up to sing. So, I was way in the back of the venue. It was sort of like the celebrity theater, back when the stages would revolve around. So this young lady I took with me, she's like, why don't you try to get up there? I said, I'm not going to be able to make it up there from way back here. And then sort of like, you ever felt something hit you upside the head, bam, you better try it. So I turned into Stymie. I'm going, under people, and I get to the stage, and he said, hey, man, you sing? I said, no, but I play. No, man, I don't want nobody to play. I want somebody to sing. So I said, listen, just give me 5 minutes. I guarantee you won't be disappointed. So pulled me on stage. I got out this Yamaha electric grand. They were playing Louie Louie. And they put a little groove to it. And I sat in, I started playing, at the time when it was the, Clarke Duke project. And George got in the mic, and he was, Cleveland, y'all got some talent. Who is this guy? So he grabbed his clavitar, he stood on one side, and Stanley was on the other, and George was like, "Go ahead on, play the funk," and they let me play for about 20 minutes. And there was a huge write up in the paper and everything, and I told George about that situation. He said, "You here in L.A.?" I said, "Yes, I'm here. I'm staying with Miyungo." He said, "Okay, good. I don't have to keep calling. You want to do this gig with me?" I said, "You don't have to ask me twice." Yes, I would love to. So, so it was great because I mean, unfortunately, to me, George shouldn't be he shouldn't have been underrated the way he is because I mean, there's nothing that brother can't do.
Yeah.
But because of critics, if you start off with jazz and then you play a little more, contemporary or funky, first thing what they want to call you, they want to call you a sellout. So, you know, so I'm like, wow. So
That struck me about Ronnie Laws too. The music that he plays is very kind of simple harmonically, but he
sure.
is such a great player.
Oh
I
yeah, I've worked with him and his brother Hubert. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
amazing,
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. They
So,
really have a high level of playing.
oh yeah, oh yeah. So,
That's really cool. So Iona actually is a friend of mine.
oh yeah, I know Iona. Yeah.
Yeah, she's a good friend of mine. We were in an organization together about singers, and
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
she's lovely. So
I was
was she living? Were they together at that time that you were?
No, no, they weren't married yet. They
Yeah,
weren't married. So
yeah,
when my younger and Iona started dating,
yeah.
you know, sometimes some guys can be a little hesitant, and and I confess I was sort of like that with my wife at first because it was just too good to be true. I said, okay, now let me see the real deal come out, and you've just been consistent, and thank God we've been together 24 years. But when
Congratulations.
I met Iona, I called Miyungo and I gave him the grill. I said, "Hey man, now just like you gave me the grill pertaining to Annette, I'm gonna give it right back to you. You can either do the right thing or you can mess up and end up with a regret. That's a great woman.
Yeah,
You're not
she
gonna
is.
find nobody no better, and that's real. So
Yeah.
I put the picture in for her. So,
Yeah, she's terrific.
and when I came out here, I was lucky. Remember that show, Moesha, Brandi?
No, sorry.
Okay. Brandi was this hip hop artist, and she had a big hit in the early '90s called "I Want to Be Down." So I did her tour
Yeah.
because on that run it was Babyface, Boys the Man, and Brandi. She was the opening act.
Uh-huh.
We did an appearance on the Jay Leno show, the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
And I knew all the guys in the band. I knew Bob. I knew Kevin, and I went over to the bandstand and I sat down at the piano and I started playing. I started playing some of Kevin's music. So he looked at me and he said, "Man, you're the first guy I met who knows my music." I said, "Well, I try to get to know a little bit of everyone's stuff if I can." So he gave me a business card, and I called home and was talking to my parents. Said, "Hey, I went. I did a visit to the Tonight Show. Next thing I knew, the phone clicked because I gave my mother's contact number because I didn't have a number out here yet. So because I was in the process of trying to get settled. Okay, so he called and my mother was telling me, "Hey, there's a guy by the name of Kevin Eubanks called here for you." And my father overheard. He said, "Hey, that's the guy on the Tonight Show. You better take that call. 'Cause he might be trying to call you for some work." And that's exactly what happened. I ended up getting that gig. So
You got the
so
gig. What gig was it?
Tonight Show with Jay
Oh,
Leno.
it was the Tonight Show. You actually were.
Yeah,
Okay, so here's another connection we have. What years was this?
this was '95. I got that job in '95. Yeah.
Well, my husband was the lighting board operator.
Wow.
So he was like upstairs in this small room with the board, and
Okay.
he was
Okay.
operating the lights.
Right. Right.
That-
Wow. Wow.
That's another connection we have, or
I,
similar.
I probably know your husband.
Yeah, you probably met him. I mean, because upstairs was where most of the musicians hung out, right?
Sure. Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
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 So yeah, you probably met him, like at least hey, hi, hi, whatever.
So
Some of the musicians would go in and hang out in the room with
oh
him.
yeah.
Yeah.
That was a great experience, and it was fun while it lasted. I mean,
Yeah.
I wish my time there would have been longer, but you know, we all know in this profession, depending on who's in charge,
Yeah.
you never
Yep.
know what you may go through, and the politics do play a role. So,
Yeah. So
you
who
know,
was the band when you were there? Was it just
at the
the regular?
time, Branford was technically still there, but he was debating if he was going to stay or if he
Oh,
was going to leave, and then he passed it down, to the
right.
guitar.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I know
Yep.
that period of time. Yeah.
Yeah.
So funny, huh?
So then after that, then that's when I connected, I connected with Stanley because I did a session with him for a movie, Higher Learning. Okay. And it
Oh,
was it was so funny. Him and Mayungo was talking and he was telling Mayungo about me. He was saying, "Hey man, I'm looking for this guy. I I think he's from Cleveland." And when me and George were playing, he came up on stage and sat in with us. And Mayungo told him, he said, "That's funny because he's living with me right now." And so, they're like, really? He said, man, tell that guy to come to this studio on such and such a day. I definitely like to, check him out some more. When Youngo got home, he said, hey, man, you got to do this movie session. I said, really? With who? And when he told me, I said, great. So from there, he hired me to work with him. So, that he's the longest I've ever been on the road with because that was a 10-year run.
oh, wow.
So
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that was from like I'm trying to think. I think maybe from to about 90, 96 and 97 to about 2003.
Oh, wow. Long time.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
must
long
that must
time.
have been some good times.
It was fun while it lasted.
Yeah. We're always saying that it's good while it lasted.
Yeah, exactly. So
Um, how about if we check out another live video? Is that cool?
that's fine. Which one you wanna
Let's
play?
see. Although I have to say that one with Dennis Chambers was awesome. Okay, so oh no, that was not Tin Pan. That was the Beast.
Yeah,
That
that
was
was in Italy.
yeah. Okay, so one of these.
Um, yeah, either one is fine.
Um, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just gonna pick the middle one. Oops. Sorry, gonna start over here. All right. Dennis Chambers.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah, that's cool. You had a lot of
Okay.
happy people there, right?
Yeah, yeah. That that was I have to credit that to my business partner, Landis Pierce, because he made the calls and the connection. And the guy, Keystone Corner, he gave me a shot because a lot of times people don't know you and they never heard of you. It's not going to happen.
I know that's true.
The tin pan and the Keystone was really it was fun. I really had fun, and to have Kenny, Dennis, Eddie, and Reggie Woods. Um, I couldn't ask for a better band. I mean, I love all them cats, and me and Kenny, we played together with Carla Cook because he was also on the Tonight Show. He came on after I was gone,
Yeah.
and that's how we met, and we just connected, and it was good. So I thank Todd and I thank Patrick. Todd is at the Keystone and Patrick is at Tin Pan, and they gave me that opportunity. They wanted me to come back, but I declined because I said, I want to have some new, fresh material. I don't want to go back, repeating myself. Even though a lot of people say, hey, man, everybody hasn't heard your stuff. So come on back and do what you got to do. But you got to do it in, the negotiation got to be right.
Yeah.
You're in it to make money, not to lose money.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's rough. It is really rough.
A friend of mine, an old friend of mine, has a band with Dennis called Niacin.
Yes.
Yeah, John Novello. He's an old
Yeah.
friend of mine.
Yeah. I know, John.
That's a good band.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fusion, right?
Fusion. Not a fusion.
Definitely fusion, yeah.
Speaking of fusion, I did an arrangement on Prince's tune, 1999.
Oh,
A little different. It's on the Romance record.
maybe I have to go see
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That's what I love. So on the romance, okay, that one, open link, romance. Of course, I don't know which one it is. Oh, yeah, 1999. Here we go.
Right. Right.
Ooh, good. I'm gonna. Cool.
zero party over, oops, out of time. So tonight I'm gonna party like it's 1999, 99, 99. Didn't come to party, don't bother knocking on my door. I got a line in my pocket, and baby, he's ready to roll.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1999, running out of time. 1999, running out of time. 1999.
Wow, that is cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love that. That was great.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite Prince tunes, and I said, you know what, I want to do something different with that. And a
That's great.
couple of his people who work with him said to me, "Man, you need to be choked." I said, "I'm glad you like it." So yeah, I did that right here in my home. And that's me playing all the instrumentation.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. See, this is what I try to, explain to these, upcoming younger musicians. We're blessed to have all this advanced technology and the sounds are incredible. But I tell people you got to have an understanding of that instrument. Even though everything is coming out of a keyboard or plug-in, you got to think like that instrument. That's me doing the drums, the bass, and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. Incredible. Who's the singer?
That's Jeff Robinson.
Oh,
Yeah, great guy, great singer. That's my brother.
sounds great.
Yeah, me and Jeff, we've been doing a lot of things for quite some time, and I said, okay, I want this brother to sing on this tune, and he came through like a champ. It sounds great.
Yeah, it sounds great. It's really good. I wanted to talk a little bit. I saw something in your bio too about your feeling about older musicians, um, getting, learning from them, getting props, honoring them, all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Uh, can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure, sure. I mean, do you mean like me learning from them? That's what you're referring to?
Well, you're okay. So what it said in your bio, I mean, it just struck me because in some of the curating I've done, I've actually tried to curate older older jazz musicians,
Right.
so like having like, showing them off and wanting people to come, but you'd really have to in how I do stuff, you really have to get some money support behind it
Sure.
because it's not going to happen overnight. You
No.
have somebody like who am I thinking of? The drummer. He was on. He was on. Ba-da-da-da-da-da-ba.
Oh,
But
Donald Dean. Donald
yeah.
Dean.
Okay, so Donald Dean, I was curating something, and I had Donald Dean, and you have to get the PR and the marketing going so that
Yes.
people have some interest. It's like, well, who's Donald Dean? I don't know. He's an older guy. Why should I go see an older guy? Because that's where the shit came from. Basically, you know what I mean?
Yes.
So,
You're right.
and you said. Well, you also said that you believe older musicians should reach out to younger musicians too. So, but I'm thinking that also you feel that older musicians should be revered. Um, I don't know. Anything to
Well,
say
see,
about that?
see what I meant from that is, pass the torch. And two, regardless of who you are, you wouldn't be where you are if someone else hadn't given you a chance. And unfortunately, it seemed like today, and this is not putting anyone down. We don't have that. Okay, hey, let me, call this guy. let me get you signed or let me pull you in on the situation. Today, I feel like it's turned more into too much competition. And if you're already well known, what can I take from you? Okay. I mean, I don't have a problem, me personally, like if someone wants to do something for me like that, okay, if you want a percentage, fine. But I'm not going to give you half of my publishing or anything like that. Okay. Because again, the only way to make life better, we all should work together. But people today, I feel as though, well, I got mine, you got to get yours. Me, myself, when I meet people who they tell me they have an interest in the piano, they want to play, I'll see what they can do. And if I see they serious, I'll take some time with them because I can remember the things I know now, I didn't always know. And I learned it by someone gracing me with the knowledge of, okay, hey, you play this like this, or this is this particular chord, or blah, 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 whatever, whatever. But all this, well, no, I'm scared he's going to get ahead of me, or the spotlight is no longer going to be on me.
Yeah.
That's what I meant by that. It's like reach back because hey, none of us is here forever, and that's real. I mean, look at all the greats we just we done lost this year: Sly Stone, Roy Ayers, and the list goes on and on and on. So in order to get, you got to be willing to give, and unfortunately, it's not like that today. And I have to say personally, people who I've worked with. As the expression go, everything that glitters is not gold. And, again, I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just being honest because we are now founding members of what I call the Yo-Yo Club. You on your own.
Don't you think part of it though is that there's a lot more people playing and in the game and I mean, like for instance, me. So
Mhm.
I've been I've been creating vocal workshops, although I've slowed down, but I've been creating them since I don't know, for 25 years.
Okay.
25 years ago, there was a good workshop, a good turnout was over 20 people.
Wow, that's good.
And for a long time, I had workshops literally every weekend, every
Okay.
weekend. Not only did I give them, uh, when people were coming to town, I had them deliver the workshop, right?
Okay.
So that was like, and then I could also usually get them a gig, somehow create a gig. So I was kind of the point person, in LA for vocalists, jazz
Okay.
vocalists. And so then, over the last, I don't know, 10 or 15 years, right?
Mhm.
The influx of online availability of teachers was
Right.
so large that now I'm kind of lucky if I get 8 people in a workshop,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think I mean, I'm not going after it the same way that I used to, or not
Sure.
after it, but I'm not as prolific because I have other things that I'm interested in, or, you know,
And dealing with
actually,
life, period.
yeah, yeah,
And see, and that brings me to my next point. Like technology is a blessing and a curse at the same time.
yeah,
Because I see a lot of people, oh, I can teach you 4 chords and you can play the piano instantly. No, you can't.
yeah,
You got to master your
yeah,
instrument.
yeah,
When you see all this advertising promoting, oh, we got this chord software. Okay, that's great, but do you know the
how to
principle
create
and
it.
how to use those chords?
Yeah, yeah,
No. So, with all this push button availability, okay, everybody's a producer. And if you ask them, okay, explain the structure of the song, they can't tell you.
yeah, yeah,
And I try to tell these kids, listen, even if you don't go to college to get a degree or something, get an understanding of what you're doing. Because see, 'cause if you don't know, now you're gonna run into the dilemma of someone who do know, and you're gonna be ending up with losing a lot of money because everyone is not honest. So, I made up in my mind when I didn't know what I was doing, okay, I want to learn. So that way I have an understanding. So, like 1999, when some people heard the tune, they thought I had a real band. Man, who playing the drums? Who playing the bass? But when I told them I did it, they were like, no way. I mean, I had Dennis here at my house one time, and him and my wife was talking, and it was funny. Dennis said to her, "Now, what amazes me, he's not a drummer, and he played better keyboard drums than some drummers." And I had to correct him. I said, "Well, Dennis, let me correct you. My brother was a drummer, and I used to watch him. And when I played with various bands in Cleveland, and we practiced at my mother's house, guys would leave their drums set up. Oh yeah, I would go down there and mess around, try to do what I can do. And thank God, studying composition and arranging, we had to learn not only whatever instrument you play, but you had to learn the other instruments as well. So when I use this stuff, I try to think, well, how would the drummer do that, or how would the bassist do that, versus just doing it from a keyboard player
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
so as you said, now we got to pivot and think of ways to bring that attention back to ourselves because it's too much of okay, yeah, I want to make beats. Okay, great. But do you know the components of a drum set? I run into young kids at the music store, and when I hear them say that, I take them to the drums. Okay, you want to make beats? Okay, let me hear you play. What's that? I said, oh, I thought you said you wanted to play the drums. No, man, I want to make beats. Well, what kind of beats you want to make? A swing feel, a backbeat, funk feel, Latin feel? Do you know what the drums are? Do you know the difference between the snare, the hi-hat, the ride, crash cymbal, floor tom, high tom, mid tom? Do you know that? Oh, do you know how to play a paradiddle? Can you play a flam? If you don't know that, then what are you going to do? Because what happens if you lost electricity? Now you got to go back to the acoustic. Okay. I was teaching the master class one time at Music Institute. And when I said that, I couldn't believe some of the professors got mad at me because I told the students, you guys can probably come up here. They had a Triton keyboard. I said, you guys probably can make this board do things I never dreamed of. But what if that thing malfunction and electricity go out? How many of you can play this piano, which requires nothing but human power?
Yeah.
And the teachers got mad. I'm like, wow. And I told them, I've seen concerts where people's stuff malfunction. I've seen it with George Duke, and he put down the keyboard and he played the piano. I remember seeing a jazz concert on PBS. It was a station in Cleveland, and oh my God, it was Dizzy Gillespie, George Benson, all these greats. The electricity went out. All you could hear was the horns. When the electricity came back on, it's like them guys didn't miss a beat. So like I said, technology is great, but it can fail.
Yeah.
Same thing with these phones. We so dependent on these phones, people don't know their own number.
Yeah. It's so true.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And yeah, I agree. And it kind of makes me think about a bunch of things. I mean, one
sure,
thing I maybe during the pandemic, I rewired my website because
sure,
I didn't want people showing up who wanted to do wailing or licks or, that's not my thing. And
right,
I really don't, I, I don't have to, and I don't want to teach somebody towards that. So I had it reflect more of who I am as a
right,
person. And people
right,
showed up for that. And so, like one student showed up a few months ago who wasn't through my website. She was referred. She was a
okay,
stunning girl. Her her boyfriend was like some kind of very well known, uh, kind of modern jazz guy, and she could sing, but
sure,
she was singing with tracks, and
okay,
and she wanted to learn licks, but she was singing jazz, and so and I was trying to get her more interested, to listen to the greats and
right,
to, you know, sing with live people. And, she just no, she didn't want that. And I
Right,
said, well, I don't think I'm the teacher for you, actually.
right.
You got to go find somebody who's more like that because that's not what I do. I want you to get excited about jazz. I
Yeah,
want you
because
to
see,
hear the harmonies and get excited, right?
it's a representation of you,
Yeah.
okay?
Yeah.
And it's like I tell these guys, don't tell me you want to learn and you think you're going to learn it like that, because
Yeah.
I didn't learn it like that. And not saying that you can't pick it up quicker than I did,
Yeah.
but you go out there half stepping. I don't want you to. Well, Nick taught me that. No, I didn't. I'm gonna teach you the right way, or else we're not gonna deal. And because see, I'm so glad my father was as strict as he was on me, because he would tell me the more you delay, put off, half step, and don't practice, somebody gonna get better than you. Don't get mad if they get the job that you want. And see, he never, oh son, you sound great. He would tell me in a minute, I think you better go back over there and practice some more because that wasn't right. he
That's
he was
cool.
strict, and I loved it.
Yeah.
So
That's great.
to me, I try to convey no matter what style of music, try to be as creative as possible because a lot of this music I hear today, like, okay, my business partner sent me some music to check out by a horn player. And when I heard it, I was disappointed because the guy can play. And it's really it's a shame today you got musicians out here who taking the time, learn their craft, but they can only use that much of what they can do. And it shouldn't be that way.
Yeah.
I'm not saying everything got to be complex, but simplicity can be creative, and this has been done.
Yeah.
I mean, when you go back to the contemporary artists like Roy Ayers, Grover Washington, and guys like that, they were playing. The music was simple. It wasn't, like Bird or Train and nothing like that, but you could hear the influence, but it had something where okay, you could remember the melody. And when these guys improv, they was bringing it. Now, come on, all this hitting way above the horn, circular breathing, sliding on across the stage on your knees. I'm like, really, really, that's it? Okay. Tricks is for kids. I was like, no, no, I mean, and then redoing someone else's song. Okay, we know who Marvin Gaye was. We know Stevie Wonder and all that. How many times you gonna play what's going on and people make the world go round the way it was recorded?
Yeah.
Put you into it. I mean, I'm not Prince, so to play 1999 the way he did it, what good did that do for him or me?
Yeah.
So it makes me feel good when people hear that arrangement. And wow, I never would have imagined hearing that song played like that. I was blessed to open up one year at the Long Beach Jazz Festival, and we performed that tune. It was me, Edwin, Marvin Smitty Smith, and Jeff. Jeff was singing, and I forget the lady's name who she interviewed me, and she said, wow, I never would have imagined here in 1999 done in a jazz way. And I said, well, it's a jazz festival, right? I said, I'm not Prince, so I want to showcase my appreciation for what he did musically and who I am. So, I just say, hey, let's please let's bring it back to that. And let's try to pull each other in because as you said, it is so much talent out here. And it's unfortunate. Some people we might not never get a chance to hear, and they
Yeah.
don't deserve that.
I just had a CD release party of this record, Social Anthems Volume 2. I'm going to send you these social anthems
Please.
records. I think you'll appreciate the arrangements and stuff. They're, some of my favorite 70s and 80s music and
Sure.
with really good arrangers and great playing. And yeah, but on the Social Anthems Volume 2, I had Inner City Blues on it. It's really great because very jazzy and, funky.
Okay.
And and then one of the engineers, we had two engineers, and he's a great synth player. His name is Mike Capitan, and
Okay.
he has some really good history. Anyway, he asked me, "Would you mind if I made a dance cut out of this? Because it's so cool. I love the drummer and he made this dance cut that was I would do a whole record like this. It's
That's
so
good.
great. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
it's wonderful. Yeah,
Ah,
great.
so yeah, the CD release party was really fun. It was one of the funnest gigs I've had. It was at the Baked Potato, and
Okay.
the band is awesome. And I've never done all that music live, as far as the record
Okay.
example. And just had the best friggin' time. It was so much fun, and that band was
I've
so slamming. And the drummer is a great drummer, Steve Haas. I don't know if you know him.
heard that name, I believe. Yeah. Yeah.
He's really, he's really got an incredible
Oh
temperament
yeah. I mean,
and stuff.
there's some guys here. You have to ask, what planet are you from? Because
I know,
they're
man.
amazing, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah, yeah. And then there's people too, like Haas, especially for this groove, this particular groove, that one. And what else? Oh, yeah, he played on one of my originals, which was kind of a minor blues, ba-doo-da-doo-da-boo-ba-ba-boo, that kind of groove. And
Uh-huh.
his, when he plays on those kind of grooves, I just, I'm totally locked into him. His, his groove and time are so perfect, It's
And,
just
and
great.
see, and that's what makes it so great when you get some people together and the
Yeah,
spirit and the blend just lock as
yeah,
one.
yeah,
You know, I mean, I feel that energy when me and Marvin Smitty Smith and Edwin playing together because we've worked together and it's I mean, there's no better feeling than that. And two, when the personality blend is great versus dealing
yeah,
with egos or attitude or, somebody don't do their homework. It pulls it down. So
yeah, yeah.
as we get older, we don't have time for drama. So I mean, yeah, for drama. So yeah, that's great. I love hearing this sort of thing. And to me, hey, let's just have fun and have a good time.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah. Be
So
musical. Yeah, the this bass player, engineer, producer guy, John Leftwich, he's not only a really great player, like
okay.
very quality player, but he's been an MD a lot, and he has a great studio. He's been engineering there for I don't know, I don't 30 years or more. I don't know. I'm not really sure. It
Okay.
might be more.
Okay.
Anyway, but he's a real stickler for what he knows to be true, which is listen to each other. I mean, I think that's one of the biggest things that he holds dear. Listen to each other. You don't everybody doesn't have to be playing, you
Very
know.
true.
Drop out,
Very
I mean,
true.
have a conversation, like make music. And
Right.
so when I play with him with bands, it's musical. It's really musical. I really like that. I love space a lot, and maybe I get that
Sure.
from listening to
Sure.
Miles, but space. I love space.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because you know what? Because sometimes you can say a lot without saying nothing. Okay.
yeah,
You don't have to fill every gap. Just
right,
let it breathe for a minute. And man, I love that. Take a guy example like Thelonious Monk. And
yeah.
then the things Miles would do, he would just play just enough. Then he'd let you know, yeah. Then he come back in and that where he left you hanging, you'd be like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
okay. So yeah,
Yeah, I know, and teaching singers that is really an interesting experience. But Carmen McRae, especially in her later years,
yes,
and actually Leftwich played with Carmen, but she was one singer who, like I told you, I had a lot of singers come and do workshops, right?
yes.
And so a lot of them, will say, don't interrupt the sentence. Like, uh, um, someday he'll, come along, they don't interrupt the sentence. And there's songs that are, if you're reading them off the page,
Right.
that's how you're going to read them. So, make a full sentence and then leave a break or whatever. Anyway, Carmen can leave a space anywhere.
Yes.
Why? Because she's so darn committed to the
The message.
communication and the concept
Right.
that
Right.
when she leaves a space, you're like,
Yeah. You want
yeah,
more.
yeah, yeah, you're right there with her, right?
Yeah. You like, you know, you're absolutely correct.
Yeah, yeah, love that.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
a really good point for people, because of course you don't want them to leave space, but they can if they're committed. I,
Right.
that's why I like teaching. I like teaching people who like, it's like have cognitions, like,
Sure.
I
Sure.
love that about teaching, right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
great.
And see, when I see someone who's really serious and I take the time to try to show them something, I see them really working at it
Yeah.
and they execute it, you know, beyond 100%. That makes me feel good because, I can remember when I was a teenager, I didn't understand the concept of rhythm notation. And, I met a gentleman that my brother had introduced us to. We used to work together, and this guy, he told me something that was so stupid. Um, he just he frustrated me because I was amazed that he had perfect pitch and he would just write a song out and I would ask him, well, how do you know when it's playing this phrase, this rhythm,
Yeah.
And his response to me, well, I mean, you got to copy music. And I looked at him, I said, how's copying music going to help me understand the difference of, the rhythmic thing? So he made me so mad, Cathy. I told him, you know what, you just don't want to teach me. Let's just keep it real. Well, because I'm being respectful because I did use some other choice words because when I was younger, I was eager to learn. And it's like, well, don't joke with me. Let's
Yeah.
keep it real.
Yeah.
And see, when I was in school, again, that was the beauty of Berklee,
Yeah.
meeting people from everywhere in the world. And we would interact with each other because, some people were advanced, some people didn't know, and we would support and help each other.
Yeah.
So there was a guy named John Mitchell. He was a trumpet player. And we were talking about, the rhythmic notation thing. And he was listening to me. He said, you know what, Nick, you overthinking. You're overthinking. He said, I know what's throwing you off. I said, well, please enlighten me. And when I told him my dad played trumpet and, we listened to a lot of Dizzy Bird and all that, he said, I bet you when you heard a lot of them up-tempo tunes, you probably thought that music, looked crazy. I said, yeah. He said, no, it depends on the tempo. Okay. And the way he broke it down, I'm like, wow, this is the monster that's been eating me all these years. And there was a simple answer right there. So, when I teach, I try to break it down to the easiest way because all of our understanding and comprehension is at different points.
Yeah.
Well, so it's easy. Well, it's easy for you because you know it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Help me understand it.
Right. Right.
So
I can dig that.
that
Yeah,
was great.
that's great. That's
Yeah,
really
yeah,
great. It's real helpful, first of all, to have somebody who can actually be honest with you, like
right.
a friend, I mean, because I remember hearing Diana Krall's one of her first like vocalist records that she was obviously the producer said, "Oh, we're gonna put her with blah blah blah," and
Mm,
and it was horrible. She was singing
mm.
like crap, and I thought, God, that is so terrible to have nobody in the producer position who says, "No, you can't do that. We have to
Right,
do that again."
right,
You allow that out, I mean, that was terrible. So having somebody actually able to be honest and kind and see what you need and give it to you is like tremendous.
right.
That's the other thing about teaching too that I like to do. I don't have to have them believe what I believe. I want to know how you think. What's the confusion? Let me get behind your head,
Right,
and see your point of view. Oh, I
right,
see that. You're looking at it like that. Okay,
that, right.
let me break that down for you a little bit,
Yeah,
That's
because
what I like.
I tell people there's more two-way streets than one-way streets. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Don't get stuck here when you can reach so far,
Yeah. Yeah.
because like I'm teaching the guy right now, and he's always asking me about a specific lick, and I told him, I said, no, man, stop asking me that because I don't want you to think mechanical.
Yeah.
I want to teach you, the mechanics of what it is you're playing,
Yeah.
but don't if you think that way, you're going to sound rigid.
Yeah.
Okay. I
Yeah.
said, see, if you listen to guys like Herbie, Chick, and all them, they're not sitting there thinking, oh, let me play this Lydian,
Yeah.
let me play
No, they're not.
Aeolian. They're not doing that. They're
No.
taking bits and pieces from various situations and they're phrasing. Because I told them, improv is like a singer. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen to how they phrase.
Yeah.
You're telling the story. You can sometimes say a lot, and then sometimes you don't have to say a lot.
Yeah.
So that's how I'm trying to get him to think, so that way he don't sound predictable. You know.
Yeah,
So
yeah, exactly. Right. It's yeah, finding yourself. For singers, this is crucial. And for instrumentalists too, but for singers especially, just because of the nature of the instrument.
right,
But you you have to be okay with uh, singing slash saying what you feel.
sure,
I mean, that's putting it really simply, but you have to be okay with that.
right,
And, it messes with singers, especially because they're using words and
right,
expressions to
right,
communicate.
uh,
But yeah, so to get people okay with being there and
right,
okay with Bob, that's fine. If that's what you like, one note, it's great.
right.
There's a great Schofield record with Charlie Hayden. It,
Okay,
maybe Groovalicious, I can't remember. Anyway, so there's this song, it's grooving. Schofield takes this, great Schofield guitar solo,
amazing, amazing player.
kind of burning, right? And then
Mhm.
it's Charlie's turn. And so what does Charlie do? He plays whole notes. And it's great. It's perfect.
When you think about it, what you gonna do behind Schofield?
Yeah, what are you going to try and like especially on bass, acoustic bass, it's like,
Yeah,
oh God.
it's like sometimes, some situations like I pass, you know. 'Cause I
Yeah,
mean,
man.
really, I'm supposed to play behind that, right? I mean, if you can do it, great, but otherwise, you got to think before you react. So
And
yeah,
be yourself. What did Charlie want to do? That's what he heard.
right,
He heard through his own ears what was going to contribute to the music. And
right.
it did, and it was perfect.
Oh yeah,
It was so good.
oh
And I
yeah,
love Sco. I mean, he's one of my favorite guitar players.
sure, sure.
He's
Yeah,
just so
I've seen.
tasty and
I've seen Schofield with Dennis many times, and
yeah,
that band was incredible,
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and
it's so
and
good.
see, and like there's not enough words to describe the greatness and the musical ability of Dennis because
Yeah,
I was so lucky when he played for me on my first CD, and to have Davy Sanchez and bless his soul, the late Herman Riley,
yeah,
who when I first heard Herman play, I'm like, wow, this guy got that Wayne Shorter, Charlie Rouse type feel.
blues player,
Because
yeah.
there was a tune I wrote on that record called Monkish,
Oh,
and we did it in one take. And I'm like, wow, it was like magic.
which record was that?
It's like that. It's on
Okay,
the first
I'm gonna
CD.
go look for that. Monkish.
Yeah, it's called Monkish. And
Wow, Herman had such a great tone.
didn't he? Oh my God. And see, like you spoke about connection. Now here's what's so funny. Um, I played with Herman. I was on this gig with this bassist named Kevin Brandon. And me and Herman, we just instantly connected. I'm listening to him, he's listening to me. So now understand this. Herman and my wife's father were best friends. They grew up
Wow.
together. They was in the military together. So Herman was telling Mr. Mack about me, and Mr. Mack started laughing. He said, "Describe this guy again." He said, "Man, I did this gig with this piano player, light skinned fella. I think he said he's from Cleveland. Man, you got to hear this guy play." So Mr. Mack started laughing. He said, "Herman, I got news for you." He said, "What?" He said, "That's my daughter's fiance. They're about to get married." What? Get out of here. So when,
Wow,
when
you've had a lot of those, man. Wow.
yes, so when I was
Wild.
doing the record, I wanted Ralph Moore to play at first,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
but Ralph couldn't do it because he was having some jaw issues. Okay,
yeah.
so Annette, bless her heart, she was like, "Nick, call Uncle Herman." I said, "Yeah, he would be perfect," and he came to the studio. He played on two of my tracks, Tony Williams and Monkish, and oh my God, the stuff that he played. All I could do was this to him. I said, "Man, thank you
Wow.
so much." And and he called me the next day. He went off on me. I said, "Herman, is there a problem with the money?" He said, "No, man, you cats ain't right. That music was hard." and, and he loved Dennis. He said, "Man, where you find that Chambers guy from?" I said, "Oh man, Dennis, that's my brother." He's like, "Oh my
Oh my.
God." Yeah,
Okay, wait
so
a minute. Okay, I gotta hear some of this.
okay.
Sorry. I
I
gotta
should have
hear some
mentioned
of
this
this.
soon. I'm sorry.
So, no, well, that's all right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry to hold you here. So sorry, I'm on romance. So let me go back to in it's like that. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Okay. And um
I'm sorry. I thought those had the names on them. My apologies. I'm so sorry about that.
that's all right. So I'm looking for Monkish.
Yeah.
Should I play Monkish?
Yes.
Yeah. Ooh. God. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. That's great. Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah, it's a
Yeah,
great
I can't
honor
believe.
to Monk. Yeah.
Yeah, we did that in one take, and Stanley was like, "Man, you take me back to my New York days." I said, "Okay,"
Love
and
that.
see, I love such a variety, Cathy. I can't, for me to just say I just want to just do this one particular thing, I would be shortchanging myself. I like it all.
Yeah, yeah, I can totally dig it. Um, uh, I'll have to send you another thing too. I'm gonna be sending you a few things. Sorry, I'll try
Oh,
and
no
not.
problem. I appreciate it.
But I want to just tell you this for a second. Taylor, sorry, I'm speaking to somebody on. Taylor, you came late to the party, man. You'll have to look at this was a great conversation, and you would have loved it. He always comes up with great questions, so he has some good questions for you. But I wanted to share with you something. So I had the last recording. Well, one of the last recordings that I've made is a nonet, and really great arrangements. And anyway, I wrote some lyrics to Monk tunes and Schofield tunes, kind of fat, like they just came to me.
Okay.
So so I just wanted to read you the lyrics to Evidence because I think you would really dig these lyrics. So, truth or lies, we will hide now, and we pray we will love all.
I
God
like.
will find us. We'll see the evidence in tomorrow. Now we pray that we will find it. Touch each man with the truth. For evidence, we can love all.
I like that. I like that. But yeah,
Yeah,
see,
I figured you would.
that's what we need. And like I said, on that first CD also, I had the pleasure of and the honor of having, I'm
Oh,
sure you're familiar with
you
Davji
froze.
Sanchez. Oh my God. Oh my God. Incredible
Hello.
tennis player.
Ah, I can't believe we froze.
Oh man.
Oh,
Okay.
here we are.
There we
Okay.
go. Yeah.
Uh,
You're familiar with Davji Sanchez, correct?
yes.
Oh my God. I mean, I saw him playing with Gonzalo Rubalcaba
Yeah.
at Catalinas. Me and my wife were sitting next to each other, and I looked at her. I said, I got to have this guy. It was like the Matrix. I
I
said,
think we're
he's the one.
I think we're getting close to being over and the internet knows it. Something
Oh
like that.
man.
Oh, sorry. We're having internet problems all of a sudden.
Do you have tune to play a little snippet of one last song, please?
Sure, sure.
It's a tune on there called Out. Okay. And
Same recording.
yeah, same record. It's like that. The name of the tune is Out. The solo that Davi played. Oh my God. Yeah,
Let's see.
incredible.
See where it is. That's not it. That's not it. No. Oh, here we go. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, excuse me. Sorry.
Come on. Hmm. for some reason it's not actually playing. Come on. Let me try and reboot that part out. There we go.
Good.
Great song.
Thank you.
Nice, really nice. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
We had
So,
fun when we laid that track. So,
so again, who is the bass on this track?
Sekou, there's a guy by the name of Sekou Bunch. You
Yeah,
know, he used to play with Tom Brown, different people like that, but phenomenal bassist.
yeah, yeah, really musical. That was a great song. It was a great vehicle, really
Thank
nice.
you.
Um, so Taylor he asked a bunch of questions, but seeing that we're ending, but I did want to ask you this anyway. What he said, what are your ambitions or the biggest ones that you want to focus on for the rest of the year? What is speaking to you in this moment?
Well, right now I'm working on new material, and what I'm really trying to do, I'm trying to establish getting more work because first of all, if I may say, I want to thank you for this time and thank TJ for
Yeah,
introducing us because hopefully I hope many who's watching this, please, you can get in touch with me. I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, I'm on TikTok. My website is nicksmithmusic.com. If wherever you may be in LA or out of town, if there's a venue that you can send me, please go on my social media and inbox me, and I would love to come perform for you live.
yeah,
My ambition and my goal right now, I just want to put out music that's going to represent positive energy, love, and uniting us all together so we can, come together and let's get rid of all this division and all this hate.
yeah,
And to the ladies, please respect for yourselves versus, feeling like you got to be on stage exposing half your body because it's more to you than just that. You are queens and you create life. Without you, we wouldn't be here. So I want to be a positive influence, and when my time is up in this world, I hope to leave something good that people will remember me by. That's what's speaking to me.
that's really nice, Nick. Two singers come to mind when you said that, about the women. Um, Cecile McLaurin-Salvant, which
Oh yes,
she's so natural, and actually, literally, one of the reasons I like watching her is because she doesn't dress for sex. She just
right,
she dresses just, she has a style, and it's kind of covered up actually.
right,
And also Liz Wright, the same. She's so elegant and so
classic,
simple. She has
classic.
little tiny earrings and a nice dress, and she's just singing really to God. I mean, I to me that's like, I don't know, it's kind of the top you can be. Just you know, be who you really are and
Right,
represent yourself as a human being. And so that you're offering something, the true stuff.
right, right. Because I tell these young ladies, hey, Victoria's supposed to be a secret,
Oh
Yeah,
God.
I mean, seriously, and I tell these guys, hey man, pull your pants up. Crack is illegal. We ain't trying to see all that. Because representation speaks about who you are, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
So, and that's basically what I'm trying to do. And and I just want to put somebody here where people can enjoy and hopefully be an inspiration, just like Herbie Chick and other musicians were an inspiration to me because I'm working on some new material. Be on the lookout. I did an arrangement of a famous R&B group called Slave. I did an arrangement of their song called Just a Touch of Love, and I have another one I want to put out. Me and Jeff Robinson, the guy who sang on 1999, we did this tune. It's called "Let's Keep It Real" because we are one, and we are one. We are one human race. Okay, to
right.
make life better, let's work together.
Yeah, yeah,
That's what I want to do.
yep.
It hurts me and it saddens me to see all the killing that's happening in Israel and Iran. It's like, why?
I,
Why?
I'm with you.
I don't want us to end up, someone attack us or war break out because I got too many people who, I love and I don't want to see nothing happen to them. And hey, meeting you is an honor and a pleasure. And I hopefully we can do some things together musically. I'm open, please feel free to reach out. And for
Oh
those,
man, well, thank you. Thanks for being on. I mean, it's been a real pleasure to speak with
thank
you.
you.
And
Thank you.
you've done so much, but it's not like a laundry list.
Right.
It's like it's real. So the conversation was great. The music was great. Your heart is beautiful, and yeah, I look forward to hearing you. Maybe we'll hear you live in
Yes,
LA. I
yes.
don't know. I want to do that.
Well, again, I'm on Facebook, Instagram, social media. Please inbox me. I'm available for session work, lessons, and if your hometown really likes to hear live music and jazz, send me that information. I'll send that to my business partner and let's see what we can make happen. And I would love to meet some of you in person, autograph a CD, let's take a picture. Because I'm not one of them standoffish artists. Oh no, don't touch me. No, I'm a people person. I like to get to know folks. And the Knick Smith you see now, that's me 24/7.
Yeah.
Life is too short for all this. Yeah, I'm not really. Hey, let's come together. Let's
Yeah.
work together. Let's love one another.
Yeah. I'm with you.
Yeah.
Totally agree. Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, Cathy. Thank you so much. I wish you a blessed week and
Thank
continued
you.
success.
Thank you. You too, you guys. And for those of you listening, Friday I am having another person on, Angela O'Neill. She runs a big man here in LA, and I I I took a little break because I was in Japan and doing get preparing for gigs and stuff. But I think because of what's going on in the world, I think I'm
Yeah.
going to start reaching out at this time to more global people again,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
just to really hit it home. We are on the planet together, and the other guys, man, why don't they just get their own planet and blow it up if they want? I just
Sure.
leave the good stuff to us.
Exactly.
You don't
Because I
have to
mean,
take away the good stuff. Yeah, man. Shit.
I'm tired of looking at the news and seeing, okay, this person got killed, or this got blown up,
Yeah,
and come on, when it involves, children and people who don't even have nothing to do with, the madness. It's like, hey, leave the innocent victims alone.
yeah,
This is not why God created this world for this kind of madness. We don't need it.
right.
So, I'm gonna try to reach out to people through the music because
Yeah,
music is very spiritual and it heals.
yes,
You
it
know,
does.
so
Yeah,
so that's what we need. We need, it's like that old standard. What the world need now, we need love.
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you again, Miss Cathy, and God bless you and wish you all the best always. And let's stay in touch, okay?
Yes, let's talk again.
You trust and believe. I'm gonna be that fly that Ray can't kill. Hey, it's Nick.
Okay, Nick, and thanks, TJ, if you're watching all the way to the end.
Thank you, TJ, my brother. I appreciate you, man. Mad love and respect.
Yeah. All right. Have a blessed day.
You do the same. Thank you
All
again
right.
for your time. Okay, now.
Okay. Bye, Nick.
Bye.